Alright, welcome back to RCH Builders, everyone. So, just finished bringing in the stuff I brought today. I did not bring the floor joists that I'm going to need to repair the back bathroom. I did bring the sheets of subflooring for there. I basically used it to kind of keep this piece of drywall safe. I sandwiched it in between the two of them while driving down through here. This is apt to get knocked around, banged around a lot easier. And if you're trying to strap it really good up against some of the stuff in my truck, it's going to shear or break it or end up with dings in it. So the OSB being solid helps with that. But I also did not bring the floor joists because of the fact that I've brought all of this other stuff and didn't have room for it in the truck. But that's no big deal because we'll bring it with us tomorrow. We have plenty to do today, including quite possibly if we do get around to cutting out the floor around those floor joists to make it so we're fully ready with that. But first thing I'm going to do is get started with some of the stuff that is going to take multiple days, which the main thing for that is the sheetrock repair and mudding. So of course we got this to repair. We got multiple spots around through here that I'm going to hit with mud. Some spots might need a little bit of tape, and then others where we'll just need hot patches. But that's the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get started with that. This whole corner I think is going to need to have actual tape put in it. It looks to me like it was never taped. This one over here does have some slight cracking in it, probably from the same thing. I don't even know if you can see the crack. There it is on camera. But this side, with how minimal it is, I might be better to off caulking that as opposed to mudding, doing tape and mud. But that other corner over there is pretty bad. So, but anyways, like I say, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get started with doing that, because if I can get it all first coat, then when I come next time I can do the second, and we can try and knock this job out as quickly as possible. Basically we'll start with mudding and then move on to the stuff that is only going to take a couple days or maybe 30 minutes or an hour or so. So best way to make use of your time. All right, now for this side over here, it is a little big for just tape. So we're going to do what we call a hot patch. Different people might call them different things, but around here, pretty much everybody calls it a hot patch. What that is, I'll show you what we do, but basically we're going to use a piece of sheetrock and leave part of the paper on it in order to patch this hole. It creates a neater, smaller, instead of having to overlap and having four heavy corners because of multiple pieces of tape, it allows it to be a lot smaller. So, and it doesn't need to be dead on for this. It could be a little small, but you do want it kind of tight. So I'm going to do 2 7/8 by 3 5/8. All right, so you can use any scrap piece of sheetrock. Generally, I'll just keep pieces of sheetrock till towards the end of the job. So, like I said, it was 2 7/8 by 3 5/8. So what we want is we're going to want to go at least about 1.5 inches on either side of that. So if we're going with our bigger one, which is 3 5/8, then we're going to want to add 3 inches to that, at least. A lot of times I'll just go, so it's 3 5/8, plus 3 inches would be 6 5/8, and I'll just round it to the next inch. Because a little more does not hurt at all. So we're going to cut ourselves a piece, roughly about 7. Doesn't have to be dead on a square anyways. And then this direction again, it's 2 7/8, so we can just go to 3 and then add 3 inches, and that's going to be 6 inches. And I will usually keep a small piece of sheetrock like this until the end of a job, so that if you need anything, end of the sheetrocking that is usually. So then if you ever end up needing to do a hot patch, I mean, typically hot patches, you only want them to be so big, like really probably this is the largest you would even want to do a hot patch. Like something that's about this size of a hot patch. And that's getting really on the edge of it. But with that being the case, I mean, normally most hot patches are going to be around the size of this one right here. And with that being the case, what I did have here, this little leftover piece, a lot of times we'll do 3 or possibly even 4 hot patches. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and take 1.5 inches off the back side. We want to flip it. This is the front side. This is the actual paper you want exposed. So you're going to flip it around, and usually I'll just go ahead and take 1.5 inches off of 2 sides to start with. Then I'll do my measuring. Now when you do this, what you're going to do is you don't want to remove this paper. You want that paper to stay. So you're going to snap it, and then you can start up against the edge and just lightly peel it off. Snap the next piece, same thing. Just very carefully. Once it gets started, it's not too hard to do. Pulls off. And essentially this is going to be now your tape, your sheetrock tape for you. So now this way we had 2 7/8. We'll actually measure it this now. And this way we had 3 5/8. Whoops, that's 3/8. So now we're going to do the same thing again. We're just going to score them, and then we'll snap them and peel them just like we just did the other 2. And this is what we call a hot patch. So now, my knife slipped and hit that a little bit. It doesn't really hurt nothing, but. Now what we're going to do is we're basically just going to do the same way we would with tape. We're going to put mud all around the hole that's up there. Then we're going to press this into it and scrape essentially all the mud out. Again, just like you do the tape coat. Ceiling's in my way up here. And on this one, normally you're going to leave it just like that, but on this one, because we have the outlet there, we don't need this side, of course, because the outlet is in the way. So we just cut off that side of it. Like I said, normally you would just keep it because you're trying to tape all the way around the hole. But we don't need to because we actually have something there. We want a hole there this time. The rest of the rooms should be much simpler, most of them anyways, at least. Move into the living room here. Try and get the camera set up in a spot where I don't have to move it very often at all. I don't think there's anything right there by that door. If so, you'll probably, just won't worry about that, but. And I'm not even sure what you'll see here anyways, because a lot of it in here is fairly small, except for by that window. So that's the first coat of mud everywhere. I went ahead and also did what I needed to in the bathroom here. I didn't move the camera in there and do that. I figured y'all have probably seen enough of this for now. Especially with it just jumping around basically because it's just looking for spots that need patching. But now that we got that done, since I've already been in the mode of mudding, this is not sheetrock mud, but it's along the same lines, so might as well go ahead and see what I can do about fixing this chimney up. What I've brought some bricks, of course. I brought 4. I think I'm only going to need maybe 3 at the most, and 3 might be too much. Yeah, probably 2 is all I'm going to be able to get in here. There's a piece of brick in here that I can probably use to help fill a little more space on one side. I'm just mainly trying to fill space, as much space. I'm gonna put that back in there because when this was sitting on top of it, it was sitting better. It wasn't wobbling as much. All right, then from there, I got to mix up some hydraulic cement. So I've got this right here. This is one we'll be using. This is left over from another job, but should be plenty. We didn't use much over there either. So should be more than plenty to do this. For this one, we probably will need a decent little bit. We're trying to get the same rough consistency of sheetrock mud with this. Because of course you don't want it leaking out, you want it to be fairly thick so that it will adhere to a vertical surface. That may expand a little bit, so I'll start with that. Main reason why a lot of times these pans end up being just trash along with it is simply because this stuff a lot of times starts to set up pretty quickly, and then you can't really get it clean fully. If you do manage to clean the majority of it, there's still little hard particles that when you're trying to mix the next batch just end up getting falling out, and then you have hard particles inside your new batch that you can't get, just causes your thing to just not be smooth. I'm primarily going to just let this first bit is just going to be to help fill the hole a little so it's not so big of a gap when I try to actually get it smooth with another set. And I'm going to bring this piece of sheetrock down here so that if it falls, it doesn't fall in this tile. Because as far as I know, he's probably not changing that. I mean, that's original to the house. It's been there all these years. He may not. But I don't want to mess it up, and it'd be my fault that it has to be if he wasn't planning on it. This is almost too soupy. It definitely would be if I was trying to do the final bit. But it'll usually set up fairly quickly. Make sure there's no out where the ridges so that it doesn't dry while in a way I don't want it to. I do definitely need a little bit more. Ooh, that was much more water than I wanted. That's a better consistency. there you go. Once that dries, it should be ready for paint. So now we'll move on to the next thing, which I think what I'm going to do next probably is go ahead and take care of the attic access hole. All right, one more step done. I think what I'm going to do now is let's go ahead and see what we can do with this plumbing drain. At least that way I'll know what else I need if I need something else, and I can bring it with me tomorrow. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is take it all apart. From what I can see here right now, I'm going to shut the water off to the sink so that hopefully he's got a leak on his sink faucet that needs to be fixed. Of course. And the O-ring on the actual shutoff was needing to be tightened. But shut these off so that hopefully don't have to worry about him coming in here and running water in here if we don't get this finished today. But anyways, from what I'm seeing, I'm going to have to see what I end up with, but I have a feeling I'm going to have to come back here. I'm going to have to get a coupling, which I say buy. I should definitely have one of those in my shed. But a 2-inch coupling and lower this down a little bit. I believe this is too high. All that water trapped in there. There shouldn't be any water in this part. It's supposed to only be in the P-trap. But I'm not surprised. Jeez. That's again why these around here are not considered to be up to code. All right, I'm going to get rid of this bucket and take it into the other room. My wife will tell you I can't smell anything. I have a very bad my nose. I just don't notice smells. For me to say it stinks, that's something. This needs to be a little bit shorter. So I was going to just reuse that part because there's nothing, it is a solid fitting, but I think it's a little bit longer than I need. So I'm going to go ahead and use the standard little one that has come with this stuff. That might work better. I think if we were to, I think we can get this on there. It'll be tight, but I think it'll work. Just, of course, this right here, it's got the little bevel side. Of course, that bevel side goes down inside this beveled edge of the fitting. You want it, I won't have it loose, but what I'm wanting is I'm wanting to, of course, cut this just barely below this fitting here, where it'll sit. So I'm going to need to cut it right here. And this is going to need to sit basically all the way down. So we're going to cut that. And it can technically run all the way down here. So, because this is smaller. I'm going to go ahead and cut it probably here, rather have it long. And then we'll figure this afterwards. But this piece is definitely too short to make it across here. So I'm going to have to see if I have one inside my little box, or I'm going to have to borrow it from the other. But I think I've got one right here. Yep, here we go. So left over from a different time. Half the time, you know, just a standard setup, whether it's this style or this style, a lot of times it will not work. This is the way they sell them in stores, is in a standard setup. With a standard setup like that, that is why a lot of times people end up getting those other flexible options. But you can buy single pieces and make this work. But a lot of times I'm going to buy the pack and then use the pieces I need, save the piece that I didn't need from a previous installation, and then next time that I do, it'll work. So saves a little bit when you come down to it. This is too high. I can't get this up any more than it is. So I am going to need to cut that and lower it. Trying to be able to go ahead and just take this to the tub and dump it real quick. I'll be right back. Now, Let's figure out how high we need this. So I cut it right at the bottom of it. Now I'm going to cut it right at the top of it. And then I think that should be good. Now, there we go. This fitting, this washer was put in upside down. Where I just mentioned that. The fact that it's supposed to go with the beveled side facing towards the fitting. Whenever they put that other drain system in. Loosen that up just a little bit so I can adjust. Must be 3/8 or something. See if I got a longer tailpipe. Because with adding this in for the dishwasher, now I need a longer tailpipe on that side. There we go. I think I picked up the whole sink. Must not be anchored in good. You aren't supposed to use pliers on these. You're supposed to tighten them as tight as you can with your hands. Sometimes you still have to add some pliers to it, but you generally only want to do that after you've tested it for a leak. And if you see there's a leak somewhere, tighten it ever so slightly, very, very slightly, because it's very easy to break these with an actual wrench. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to do what they call a flood test. What that means is you're sending a bunch of rushing water through the pipe for like a maximum pressure effect that would happen if someone was to fill the sink up with water and then drain the sink. So you wanted to test it against that happening. All right, so I went ahead and tested out the sink. Sink is working good. The only issue is things that I wasn't supposed to be fixing and don't have the stuff here to fix because of that. Basically, it looks like he might need to replace the water lines going from the water inlet to the faucet. And he might have to replace the hot water valve. It looks like that valve has just gone bad. I mean, it's they're old copper ones from quite a few years back, I would say. But anyways, he's going to have to fix that. So, or, you know, if he wants, I can fix it, but I need to know that he wants me to do it instead of it being one of the things that he's going to do himself. So, but anyways, for today, I think that's where I'm going to call it. Got a lot done actually with the mudding, and then knocked out technically 3 of the other items. Hope you've enjoyed watching. I'll see you the next time.